Welcome to I Got Issues, a podcast offering hope and healing for the hurts, habits, and hangups we all experience. Thank you for listening.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to I Got Issues. My name is Hadley Baker. I will be your host for this podcast. And man, I am just super excited that you have joined us. This will be the first of many conversations to come where we're going to talk about the issues that we all face, the issues we all deal with. So I am pumped that you have tuned in. Looking forward to a great time together today and in each episode to come. Hey, let me ask you a favor. If today's content is in any way encouraging, inspiring, just helpful, anything positive, okay? Would you please tell a friend? Just send a text message, talk to somebody, just whatever, and say, hey, you got to check out this new podcast called I Got Issues. Man, we would appreciate it. We're trying to invite others into this online community for these real, authentic conversations we're going to be having, and you can help us so much by just spreading the word. I would also be super grateful if you wouldn't mind leaving a review. That will give this podcast more exposure, more visibility, where others can learn about this community and can join the conversations that we will be having. So thank you for telling a friend. Thank you for leaving a review. Well, hey, let's go ahead and jump into the content we have prepared for today. I know it's a couple of days after the fact, but I do want to wish everyone a happy new year. I hope your 2023 is off to a great start. It's crazy to think that we're already in this new year. It's like we all blinked our eyes and 2022 is over. I don't know where the time went, but man, it passed quickly. But I do hope you're having a great start to your year. I personally am so excited about this new year. A lot of things are happening in my life that I'm so excited about. And this podcast is one of those. Like, I'm just so humbled. I'm so grateful to get to be a part of a community where we can come together and have conversations that are raw and real, like no filters, and just talk about the issues that all of us are dealing with. I may not know you personally, but what I know to be true about you, because it's true about everyone, is all of us have issues. Every one of us. None of us have arrived. None of us are perfect. We're all growing as people. And whether you are a person of faith like myself, or maybe you say, no, I'm not the religious type, that's cool. I am glad you are here because I truly believe this is going to be a resource that will be beneficial to your life. And again, just super excited. So I thought it might be helpful in this first episode to talk about why we're starting this and what you can expect as we move forward. You know, a lot of people hear that I'm a pastor and they say, oh, you're a pastor, you're a preacher. I'm like, yes, I am. And they have these ideas or assumptions about people who are in ministry or who serve in church leadership. And they mistakenly believe that people like that have never struggled, have never had any weaknesses, that their life has been neat and tidy, and they don't have any issues. And that's why they get to be in leadership, because their life is problem-free. I'm just here to tell you, nothing could be further from the truth. Because in my own life and my own story, it was messy. If you were to sit down with me and have a coffee or a meal and I could tell you my story, you would see that it's littered with a lot of brokenness, a lot of dysfunction, a lot of hurt, a lot of wounds. At some point in a future episode, I'll talk more about it. But yeah, my life is messy. I was born to an unwed teenage mom. I was an unplanned pregnancy. My mom didn't even know who my dad was. And I can tell you, growing up as a child, not having my father present in my life scarred me significantly. Like, it messed me up. It caused me to believe a lot of lies about myself, my very identity. I felt a lot of shame for being abandoned by my father. I felt insecure. I felt inferior. And those broken, twisted beliefs led me into a path of addiction. And for many, many years, I had a horrific pornography addiction that would mess me up big time later in life. Like, literally something that started when I was 12 years old followed me into high school and college and even working at a church. I ended up getting fired from that church because of sex and pornography addiction. I had lived in secrecy for so long, had this double life for so long that I just spiraled out of control. And the crazy thing is, I hated what I was doing. Like, I knew it was wrong. I hated the shame I felt afterward. I felt dirty. I felt afraid of being caught. I felt insecure being around people. Like, man, can they see through me? Do they know that I'm living this secret life? Like, I didn't like the life I was living. And yet at the same time, I didn't have the strength within myself to get free. I needed help. I needed people around me. I needed resources and strength from others. And because I kept it a secret, I just continued to sink deeper and deeper into sin. And I'm just keeping it real with you guys. I was out of control. I mean, completely, absolutely out of control. Adult bookstores, strip clubs, one-night stands with strangers, escorts, prostitutes. Like, my life was just out of control. Like, when we have these kinds of conversations, I know what I'm talking about because I've been there. I've experienced it. I've lived it firsthand. And this can happen even to people of faith, even people in the church. And this is why we have to have conversations about it, so that people don't feel like their only option is to hide. I'm telling you, that's a horrible place to be, where you know you need help, but you feel like you can't talk to anyone. You feel trapped. And the truth is, I knew what I was doing was wrong, and I hated it. Because I loved God, I felt conviction for the choices I was making, but within myself, I didn't have the strength to change. I didn't have the strength to fix myself. I needed the resources of a community. I needed other people around me to walk with me and pray for me and encourage me and hold me accountable and push me towards the necessary steps to find the freedom that my soul desperately craved. So at a later time, I will share more of my story with you. But for now, let me just say this, that I have discovered that healing is possible, that freedom is possible. If you are bound by your pain, if you are bound by your struggle, what happens is you give up the belief that anything can ever be different. All you know is the hurt. All you know is the struggle. All you know is the failure. And you just kind of make peace with it. You sort of raise the white flag and just say, well, yeah, it sucks. I hate it. I don't want this, but there's nothing I can do about it. It is what it is. And you just kind of accept it. But I have found that healing is not a pipe dream. The freedom is not a fantasy. That you can find a life on the other side of your hurt, your habit, your hang-up. And that's why we have started this podcast, is I want you to have a place where you can come together with others and hear stories of life change, hear stories of encouragement, hear stories of inspiration that will just give you that nudge that you need to take that next step towards healing and freedom. And as a pastor, I don't want to be one of these guys who sits in a church service on Sunday mornings with all these people who think they've got it all together and they act righteous and they act like they don't have any struggles or weaknesses. Like, I just don't want any part of that. Because what I know to be true is all of us have issues. All of us are broken. All of us are struggling with something. All of us have areas where we need to grow and become the person God has called us to be. And I just don't want to play that game. I believe that the church should be the realest place on earth. The church I pastor is called City on a Hill. And we launched it in September of 2018. And literally our first message series that we ever did was called I Got Issues. That's where this podcast gets its name. That our conviction from the very beginning was, hey, what if we started a church, created a church that operated a lot like a hospital? What is a hospital when you really think about it? It's a place where broken, hurting, sick people go to get well. They go there one way and they leave another way. They get the help they need so that they can become whole and healthy. Man, what if we did church that way? But here's the reality. For people to find the help they need to get healthy, they have to have the freedom to be honest about where they are. If people have any hope of getting better, of healing, and living a whole life, they have to be open and honest about where they are. And that's the kind of church that we want to be. And by God's grace, I feel like that's the type of church that we are becoming. That we have just built a culture where we don't pretend to be more than we are. That we are open, we are honest about our weaknesses and our struggles. That we don't make excuses for things. We don't sidestep what the Bible makes clear. No, we own our issues. But by God's grace, we are changing, we are healing, we're finding freedom. And I just believe the church should be the realest place on the planet. And so I want to bring our DNA and our culture to this podcast, and I want you to be a part of this community. And to be clear, this is not a podcast just about addiction. We're going to talk about hurts. Some of you listening have been wounded. You've been hurt in significant ways. Maybe it was abandonment or betrayal, neglect. Maybe it was an act of injustice that was perpetrated against you, and it's wounded you, and you can't find the healing that you need to move forward in your life. For others, it's a habit. It's being controlled by these compulsive behaviors that are destroying your life, destroying your image and your love of yourself, harming the people that love you and care about you, and just keeping you in this cycle that is not allowing you to move forward. And still, for others of you, your issue is not a hurt. It's not a habit. For you, it's a mental or emotional hang-up. Maybe that's anxiety. Maybe that's depression. Maybe you deal with resentment or unforgiveness or bitterness. Maybe you harbor anger towards someone. Maybe you would be honest and just say, I don't trust people. Or when you look in the mirror, you feel like you don't measure up. No matter who you are, no matter what your issue may be, this podcast is going to be a resource in your life where you can find hope and you can find healing. You're going to hear real stories from people just like you who have not only experienced these hurts, these habits, and these hang-ups, but they have found healing. And man, there's just something powerful. There's something transformative that happens when we can hear from someone who has gone through the very same thing that we are presently going through, and yet they got to the other side. They got through it. They found that healing. They found that freedom. They are moving forward in their life. They're not stuck anymore. Yeah, it may be messy. It may not be perfect, but that they are not the person they used to be. They had a breakthrough. And that's what this podcast is going to be about. That it's not just going to be stories that will inspire you. The hope and the vision is that it will help you want more for yourself and to believe that it's possible, that you don't have to stay stuck, that you can have that life that you have envisioned, the dreams and the hopes and the aspirations inside of you that your issues have kept you from. Those can become a reality. It's not a pipe dream. It's not a fantasy. Freedom is attainable. And so that's why I'm so excited to welcome you into this, because I really believe the conversations we're going to have can influence change in your life. So let's move to the more practical elements of what you can expect from this podcast. As of now, our plan is to release an episode every other Tuesday. I would love it if I had the margin and capacity in my schedule to release an episode every week. The reason why I'm presently not doing that is because I'm actually writing my first book that will be released later this year. The book is a memoir. It's entitled, I Am Not Your Slave. And it's my story of experiencing addiction and finding healing and freedom from addiction. And as you can imagine, that's pretty time consuming. It's put a lot on my plate. In addition to that, I pastor a church. And I'm also a husband, and I'm a father, and I want to be present for my family. And so I would feel better to commit to a rhythm that I feel like I can consistently honor rather than to overcommit and have to backtrack later. So the plan for now is roughly 2 episodes a month. Again, every other Tuesday, we'll drop an episode. If that changes in the future, we'll certainly let you know. But for right now, that's what you can expect. Well, hey, for the rest of our time together, I want to talk to you specifically, you directly, about your own life, particularly thinking about this new year. We touched on earlier, 2023 is here. We're a couple days into this new year. And I think most people just get excited about a new year. That it feels like more than just the changing of a calendar. It feels kind of like the changing of a season. It's like this fresh start, a clean slate. It's just kind of a rhythm where we get to reset and just start fresh. And I think people get hopeful and they get optimistic that better days lie ahead. There's just, an innate sense of hope that we feel with the start of a new year. And you guys know this, everyone's making the resolutions. Some people have already broken them. We're like 3 days in and they're already breaking the resolutions. But you've heard them all. You've probably made a lot of them. This year, I'm going to get out of debt. I'm going to save more money. I'm going to get into shape, and I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to drop 20 pounds. I'm going to get swole. I'm going to get ripped up, whatever. I'm going to learn a new hobby. Man, this is the year I learned to play guitar. Man, I'm going to learn how to speak some Spanish, whatever that looks like. I'm going to spend more time with my friends, spend more time with my family. I'm going to travel more, go see the world, whatever. Like, people make all of these resolutions. And that's great. I'm all about it. Go live your best life. I think that's fantastic. But today, if I could invite us to just go a little bit deeper, I want to reframe the way you approach the weeks and months that are ahead. That rather than thinking about 2023 in terms of addition, that is to say, those things that you want to add to your life, I want to invite you to think in terms of subtraction. What are the things that need to be taken out of your life? That you're not just leaving behind the previous year, but you're actually leaving behind the things that you don't want to be a part of your life anymore. The things that are holding you back, the things that are trapping you and tripping you up. Like, how awesome would it be if those things were not a part of your life anymore? And that's why as we enter 2023, I want to ask you a question. And this is the theme of today's episode. Who could you be if you were free? Who could you be if you were free? Think about that. What would your life look like if you were no longer enslaved or imprisoned by your hurts, by your habits, by your hang-ups, but you were free to live the life that God planned for you? What would that mean for your relationships with your spouse or with your children, with your family? What would that mean for your relationship with God Himself? What would that freedom mean for your mental health, your emotional well-being? Being free, what could you do with your life? What difference could you make? How might God use you to be a blessing in the life of someone else? Today, I just want to be a voice that pushes you and challenges you not to settle for the life you have lived up to this point, but to believe with bold, fresh faith that somewhere inside of you, you know deep down, you were made for more than this. That you weren't made to live this slave-like existence, that you were created to be free. And that on the other side of this struggle, on the other side of this battle, God has something better for you. I just want to speak life over you today and just push you to reach out and grab hold of that promise. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that it's always easy. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that it's going to happen overnight. But today, my one purpose is to just inspire that flicker of faith, even if it's just a little match. I want fire inside of you to ignite. I want something to burn on the inside that says, I'm ready to get free. I'm tired of staying stuck. I'm tired of living the same year after year after year. I want to say to you today, in January of 2023, the same thing I said to our church back in September of 2018. That the bad news is we all have issues. But the good news is Jesus came for people with issues. That's who he came for. Jesus didn't come for people who've got it all together, whose lives are perfect, who have no weaknesses or struggles, who fight no battles. No, Jesus left heaven and came to earth for people who have issues. How do we know this to be true? Because Jesus himself told us. In Matthew chapter 9, verse 12, Jesus said, healthy people don't need a doctor. Sick people do. That's who he came for. He came for those of us who know we can't fix ourselves, that we need grace and mercy. There's another time in Matthew chapter 11, verse 28, where Jesus invites us. He said, come to me, all of you who are weary and carry heavy burdens, and I will give you rest. Can I just ask you another question? Are you weary? Are you tired? Do you need rest in your soul? Rest in your life? Do you need the peace, the grace, the mercy, the forgiveness that only Jesus can offer? Listen, I'm telling you, I'm not some crazy religious nut. I'm a broken, messed up dude who had an encounter with Jesus that changed my life. And when I talk about these things, this is not me pushing something on you. This is not me trying to convert you. I don't have some hidden agenda. No, I don't want anything from you. I just want something for you. I want you to experience what I have experienced. And I'm telling you, it's possible. Freedom is possible. Healing is possible. So I just want to pray for you. I'm so excited about the episodes that will come. So excited for the conversations we're going to have. But for today, I just want to land the plane by praying for you, praying for that flicker of hope to be ignited in your heart. And until we meet again, this is what I want to leave you with. So maybe you're at home, maybe you're at work, maybe you're sitting in your vehicle, maybe you're at the gym. I don't know. But wherever you are, just receive this prayer. Heavenly Father, in Jesus' name, I just come to you right now on behalf of my friend who is listening. And Lord, I thank you that your word says that you know all things, that you understand our pain. Lord, you understand our struggles. You understand our difficulty in navigating this life. And Lord, while I may not know every situation represented, that every person on the other end who's listening to this podcast, I may not know what they're going through. But Jesus, you do. You know. You understand. And you have the power to do something about it. That through you, hope and healing and freedom are possible. I'm just asking you to begin the process, to set them on a pathway, on a journey towards healing and freedom and restoration, towards the life that you created them to experience. And Lord, for those listening today that may not believe in you, God, I just pray that their hearts and minds would be open and would be receptive to knowing you and understanding your incredible love for them, and that you have a plan and a purpose for their life. And Lord, whether they ever believe like I believe or not, to know that I care about them and that this is a place where they can come for encouragement and for strength. I just thank you for the time we've had together. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Well, guys, again, I want to thank you for listening. I don't know about you, but I have certainly enjoyed our time together. Episode 1 of I Got Issues is in the books. But hey, really quickly, before I sign off, I did want to tell you all that while our plan is to release a new episode every other Tuesday, there will be some weeks from time to time where we drop bonus episodes. And actually, next week is going to be one of those weeks. That means that Tuesday, January 10th, we will have a brand new episode of I Got Issues. And then that following Tuesday, January 17th, we will have our regularly scheduled episode as well. So for these next 2 weeks, we've got you covered. And whatever platform you're listening on, just come right back. We're going to be here. I'm telling you, it's going to be inspiring. It's going to encourage you. It's going to motivate you. And you're not going to want to miss it. We'll see you next time.
Thank you for streaming this episode of I Got Issues. If you found this content to be helpful in any way, help us expand our online community by leaving a review and sharing this podcast with a friend. If you have ideas for future episodes, we would love to hear from you. Please visit the show notes for contact information. Until next time, take care, everyone.